Hi, this is Alexandra Carpenter, and I'm going to be narrating this PowerPoint about my Teachers in Action project that I did for my EEX 4070 class with Dr. Dan Ezell, or Dr. Dan the Magic Man, and I can't wait to tell you all about my project this summer. So, my project was being a staff member at a conference for youth at Cayuga, which is a conference center in Hendersonville, North Carolina. The youth conference that I specifically volunteered at was the SYP program, or the Summer Year program, which is just for high school age students, and we also have a JYP, a junior year program, which is for middle school students. So I worked for the ones with high school age students, and we do a week worth of programming that focuses on a new theme each year. This year the theme was forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and myths portrayed by society around the theme of forgiveness. And we also work just to foster a community and a place where every child is able to be themselves. So the activities that I specifically worked on as a staff member of this team was to lead a small group, which is a group of 7 to 8 children, where each morning you meet up and you discuss like the theme of the day, and there's a lot of questions that you're given and activities to do together. It's really a place where children can bond and connect with each other in a less pressure environment, and so I did that. I also supervised a cabin of 13 girls this year, which was a lot because usually the average number of girls in a cabin is 6. So I had a lot going on with that this year. And just making sure they're safe, checking in with them each evening. I kept a close eye on a specific participant, which I'll talk more about later on in the presentation, but we did have a participant who was high-functioning with autism this year, and I was to keep an eye on him because he does sometimes get nervous and try to leave, and of course that's unsafe. When you're at a camp, you want to have an eye on every single participant. So I was to keep a special eye on him and make sure he was eating and make sure he was having a good time the whole time, and I really grew close to him. I was also on the afternoon program team, so for months in advance I planned a lot for the games and skits and activities that we were going to be doing with the kids during the afternoon, and we try and go big or go home as staff members at this camp, so every single activity came with a full-blown skit. We really tried to immerse them and throw them into a scenario. So for example, on one day we decided that they were going to go on an airplane trip, so we made them go through pre-check and whatever, and like scanned them with hula hoops and all this fun stuff and made them pretend to go on an airplane. And we provided like a safety video about how they needed to, strap themselves into the airplane and line them up in rows, and we had flight attendants, and we do the whole thing at this camp. So those were the kind of things that as a staff member I was responsible for during the week at camp. So just an example of some activities, because I didn't want to take a lot of pictures of minors and their faces just to protect them and keep them safe. I don't have a ton of pictures from the week because I was constantly surrounded by the participants, as I should have been. But I do have some examples of art or activities that they did. So on the left we have an acrostic poem that my small group did, and on the right we have a forgiveness map that the participants created during the week about how they were going to forgive others and the steps they were going to take in forgiving others. So that's just some examples of kind of the slower activities that we did during the morning. So SYP at Cayuga served 97 high school age participants this year, which we were very proud and excited about because it was more participants than we've had in the past couple years. They're from all races and backgrounds and from all across the country. So we had kids from Florida, from Pennsylvania, from Kentucky, from Minnesota. We really, even though the camp is in North Carolina, we try and cater to kids from all across the country. And while being a child with disabilities is not a requirement for being at the camp, there are many children there who do have exceptionalities. Part of what our camp really prides itself on is being able to cater to students who wouldn't necessarily be able to go to a camp elsewhere for other reasons. So we had children who had autism, they had PTSD. Some of them came from Stoneman Douglas, which is where the shooting in Parkland, Florida happened, anxiety disorders, and also, although I want to make this clear, it is not a disability to be LGBT+. There are a lot of LGBT+ participants who may require certain needs to be catered to throughout the week, and we pride ourselves on being really accommodating of that at this camp. So, for example, I had a trans girl in my cabin this year, and she had a lot of stuff with transitioning, like hormones and things like that need to be taken care of, and we just always try our best to provide anything that the participants would ever need or want in order for them to have a safe and enjoyable experience with us. So this was my small group. I got their permission to take this picture and I blurred out their faces, so I just wanted to show part of what we did during afternoon program, which was we had them all dress up for skits and create a skit themselves. And so as you can see, they're wearing all sorts of things on their heads and they're all dressed up, ready to act, and you really can't tell, who it has a disability at all, because they're really all just got into it, and I was so proud of them and so happy to see them bond this week. And I was so lucky to have been touched by every single child that I interacted with. On the left, there's a picture of me after the paint war. As you can see, I definitely got painted on a lot. And on the right is my friend Sarah. So every year we do a variety show where the kids can sign up and perform. And we really get into the theme and try and make the variety show like a whole nother world. So everyone dresses up and we decorate the whole space a different way. And so my friend Sarah dressed up as someone from Woodstock this year, and I was a psychopathic older person who wanted to murder everybody. I don't know. It's really fun, and I just kind of wanted to show some examples of just how silly and outrageous a lot of the activities we put on are. So perceptions of differences. I was excited at first when I heard about this project because I knew that this would be a really wonderful opportunity to talk about the magic that gets put on at Cayuga and about my experiences there. What had probably the most impact on me this year during this project was getting to know and look out for a participant who had high-functioning autism. He doesn't usually get to have experiences away from his parents a lot of the times, is what his father told me at the beginning of the week. And so going whole entire days without his family, I think, was a really hard but also unique experience for him. And just getting to know him and love him and look out for him and was incredible. He, even though we were in spaces with lots of people, and I know that's very challenging, and there was always a lot going on, especially with sensory things, he never said anything negative, and he even danced at one point to the live band that we have, which was so amazing. And him being able to interact with me and with the other kids was truly a special experience. And getting to know so many young people from across the country and getting to love them, it was really incredible. So there were a lot of connections to the class that happened for me during the week, so I wanted to talk about those. Making accommodations was something that we talked about in the adaptation project really early on in the semester, and I found that being a staff member is all about making accommodations, especially So for example, we had a game where we sort of maybe wanted to use balloons, but then we remembered that we had a lot of people from Parkland who maybe wouldn't react well to loud banging noises since they had gone through such a terrible event just a couple years before. So we decided not to use balloons and to instead go with another idea instead. And that was an example of making accommodations for children who might not necessarily need it, but that they deserve that sort of love and support from us. Also, fostering an inclusive and welcoming environment is something that we talked a lot about, making classrooms accessible, making, creating a place where children feel safe and feel loved and feel able to be themselves in the classroom is something we talked about, and I really tried to bring those skills over into this community because I wanted it to be as inclusive and welcoming as possible for everyone. And then another thing that applied was multicultural education. We talked a lot about children from different backgrounds and considering them a lot during the semester. And that was something we also had to do at this camp because everyone did come from different backgrounds and different places, and we wanted everyone to feel accepted. So my opinion on service learning is that it is amazing. I was already signed up to be a staff member at this camp before this project even came about, so you obviously know how I feel about service learning in general because I was already going to do, service, and it was just wonderful that I got to learn and apply what I learned throughout this class into the camp. I think that it's an incredibly healing thing for the community, not only for those receiving services, but also for the volunteers doing it. Being able to connect with people and provide gifts that you have to other people is such a healing thing for everyone involved and bringing people closer together. And then learning through going out and physically affecting others in the community, that kind of learning cannot be recreated elsewhere. You don't get that sort of connection to others in the classroom. And going out and physically doing things also is just a wonderful way of learning. It's really something that you can't find just from reading in a classroom. So my opinion on civic engagement and serving learning is overwhelmingly positive. I have nothing bad to say about that concept. My final thoughts is that I love Canuga and I love the senior years program especially, and I have throughout my life made so many wonderful connections with the people there, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to not only staff at that camp, but to have been a participant there when I was a middle school and high school student. I think I would be a different person without the camp today. And I also really enjoyed getting to think about how I was going to bring my EEX 4070 class into the experience and how I was able to share something so wonderful with you. And I love the idea of service learning. This is definitely my favorite thing that I did for this class. And thank you for listening to me talk about it. So the Teachers in Action project was something that was incredible and really important to me, and it was overwhelmingly my favorite part of this course and of any course that I took this year so far. So thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.